to introduce our keynote speaker tonight will be Margaret Downey. Margaret has a remarkable pedigree as a free thought activist. She founded the Free Thought Society and Anti-Discrimination Support Network in 1993. She has represented the non-theist community since 1995 at several UN conferences. She's a state representative representing Pennsylvania for the FFRF and has served on many other secular and non-religious boards. She has focused most recently as president of the Thomas Paine Memorial Association on guiding that association to the successful passage of a bill granting permission to erect a long overdue monument to forgotten founder Thomas Paine. That's pretty cool. She is now overseeing the significant fundraising to make that monument a reality. She also puts on the annual secular Day of the Dead international event, which is, by the way, coming up soon. Here are a few facts you might not know about Margaret. She appears in the 4th season of Penn and Teller's Bullshit. And I didn't make that up. Like, that wasn't bullshit. The show is called that. And did you know that she is listed along with the Freedom from Religion Foundation in Dan Brown's best-selling novel Origin as part of the movement of, quote, the growing army of atheists now packing some very big guns, end quote. Please join me in welcoming our very own Margaret Downey.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Hasn't this been the most wonderful conference ever? And tonight it is my honor to introduce the last speaker of the conference, my friend and fellow atheist, Jon Huertas. He is attending this conference with his spouse, Nicole Borges. Nicole, say hi. Now, many of you may recognize Jon from his remarkable career as an actor. He has captivated audiences with his dynamic performances in hit television programs such as Castle and This Is Us. Jon is particularly proud of his performance as Sergeant Tony Espera in the HBO miniseries Generation Kill. Being a veteran himself, Jon says that his Generation Kill character was the most meaningful role of his career. Jon is also proud to say that in real life, he was an atheist in the foxhole, having served 8 years in the United States Air Force. Now, currently, Jon is working as a screenwriter, director, and producer. Beyond his impressive accomplishments in the entertainment industry, Jon is a passionate advocate for secularism and the separation of religion and government. Jon has an unwavering commitment to the principles of freedom, reason, and humanism. Since 2020, Jon has volunteered to participate in the online annual International Secular Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos secular event. It was our social media advertisement for that event that inspired Jon to contact me. His email to me stated, and it started with this question: why is a non-Hispanic, non-Latinx woman organizing a traditional Mexican event? I guess my Irish last name of Downey threw him. So I explained that my first husband was Mexican, that I am actually Latina because my mother is Puerto Rican, and that I acknowledge Dia de los Muertos because I want my daughter and my grandson to always remember their Mexican heritage. Well, Jon immediately wrote back and said that we have a lot in common. His father is Puerto Rican, and Jon loves the idea of acknowledging the Mexican tradition in a secular way. Count me in as a supporter, he said. So I immediately asked Jon to be the 2020 guest speaker, and he has participated every year since. Jon brings a unique and powerful voice to the conversation about freedom from religion, drawing from his diverse experiences and his deep personal convictions. His insights and perspectives have been invaluable as we continue to navigate the complexities of maintaining cultural traditions and customs within a fast-growing, non-theist culture. Each time Jon opens our Dia de los Muertos secular program, he conveys an inspiring and passionate message. Jon's dedication to ensuring that individuals are free from religious coercion is commendable, and his promotion of separation of religion and government is very impressive. So I'm confident that the Freedom from Religion Foundation Conference audience will enjoy what Jon has to say tonight as he presents his speech entitled, Blacks and Latinos, Unshackling Ourselves from Holy Handcuffs. Please welcome Jon Huertas.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for that introduction. That was very nice. I'm a little nervous. This is my first AA meeting, so bear with me. Sorry. Here goes. I'm Jon Huertas, and I am an American atheist. Wow. I mean, that was a pretty good applause, but I thought that would have a little more impact. But I guess being an out and proud atheist at an atheist-based conference is kind of like being a vegan at a salad bar. No one here is impressed. But can you imagine if more atheists made that proclamation that proudly at an AA meeting or anywhere else in the world? Wouldn't the world be a better place? Right. Anyway, thank you all for having me here tonight, and thank you for being here. If my speech, Blacks and Latinos, Unshackling Ourselves from Holy Handcuffs, doesn't grab your attention, well, don't worry, because I got a backup plan. All right? We can all bond over how to survive those family gatherings when your aunt comes up and asks you if you found Jesus yet. Now, let's just be real. You know, where the f*** did Jesus go? Where has he been? It's been over 2,000 years. I mean, if Jesus hasn't noticed, it is f***ed up here on earth. And back then, every guy in the Middle East, he had a beard, dark skin, curly hair, basically me. And finding an empty tomb and thinking that Jesus was back because he supposedly made an appearance is like mistaking every other guy at the gym for your buddy Dave, really. Plus, think about it, grave robbing was practically a national sport back then. An empty tomb? Come on, that was probably just some guys trying to get an easy score. And all those appearances of Jesus, come on, they likely happened after a bunch of wine was drank. I mean, they drank a lot of wine back then, according to the good book. And I mean, I'll tell you the honest truth, I've had so much wine before, I thought I saw Elvis singing Hound Dog in a karaoke bar once. Anyways, tonight is about taking a journey through the tangled corridors of our shared histories, our complex identities, and to envision a future free from the heavy chains of religious indoctrination that have weighed down on indigenous peoples in the Americas to Africa and beyond. I stand before you tonight, not just as a speaker, but as a living testament to the power of personal freedom. I'm an atheist and I am free from religion. Yes, thank you. Now, my goal tonight is for us to unravel the layers of religious devotion that has bound us as humans, but especially some of the most devout in our communities, the Blacks and the Latinos. It boggles my mind. I mean, come on, it is so ironic. My ancestors were introduced to Christianity with chains and whips, not appearances of the Messiah. And yet, centuries later, here we are, still clinging to the beliefs once used to control, enslave, and murder us. But tonight, we're going to talk about breaking those chains so that we can free our communities and hopefully do some good. Now imagine an Afro-Latino, me, raised in the bosom of Catholicism since the day they snipped my foreskin and nearly drowned me in that baptismal bowl of sorrow. As a kid, I walked the line between altar boy duties and the fact that I had already become a non-believer by the age of 9. I just got privileges for being an altar boy, so I stuck with it. Now, as someone who's always favored the hard facts of science over the soft comfort of Scripture, I can't help but think that if we treated science with the same reverence that we've given these ancient texts, we would have probably all teleported here tonight instead of Ubered. You know what I mean? Let's talk about the historical chains. Religion in the Latino and Black communities has always been like that double-edged sword, part sanctuary and part prison, reminding us of the days that when faith was handed out not as a choice, but as a set of shackles on an auction block. Wandering through my Catholic school hallways and sitting through chapel in college, I went to TCU, wow. I always felt the weight of those invisible chains. And I'm not talking about the baller kind you might wear with your sexy outfit. I'm talking about the sneaky, heavy kind that root back to slavery, promising you heaven while keeping you in line. Now, the walls that we build today, today's religious walls in America aren't just metaphorical barriers from your grandma's back in my day tales. No, they are huge, they are real, and they mess with everything from our paychecks to our political power, deciding who rises to the top and who stays at the bottom, much like the actual walls that used to segregate slaves, the house slaves from the field slaves. Today's holy divisions slice up our marginalized communities by design. You have the devout on one side, looking all sanctified, and skeptics like me on the other, wondering how the f*** is this ridiculous religious Kool-Aid still so damn popular? I mean, it's like a bizarre civil war over who owns the moral high ground. Meanwhile, as everyone is distracted, fighting over ideas like divine real estate, hello, Gaza Strip, the real goals of unity and equality just keep getting pushed further and further away in an endless game of spiritual keep away. Questioning the piety. Now, for Blacks and Latinos, questioning religious norms in our culture is like telling your grandmother that a legendary arroz con pollo recipe could use a little more salt. Necessary, but you better duck. Now, the church is lauded far and wide as this grand beacon of hope. But it's also quite the bouncer at the club of life, isn't it? Setting the rules, telling you what you can and can't do. And let's not forget, it often squashes more spirits than it uplifts. You want to talk about a power trip. Now, they call this strict adherence piety. But really, it's just a fancy way of not letting anyone ask, why are we still doing all this? This is some bullshit, kneeling and standing. Now, think about this. Why do Blacks and Latinos still cling so tightly to the doctrines delivered by the same ships that brought Blacks over in chains and genocided scores of native peoples? Seems a bit suspect, right? It's like asking directions from the person who just stole your car. Why should the roadmap to our freedom be drawn with the fairy tools of our past oppression? It's not just ironic, it's f***ed up. Speaking of I mentioned earlier my journey towards true freedom. Well, it didn't come without some spiritual speed bumps. Enter the Sears saga, a tale of faith, folly, and frisky encounters. Let's rewind back to my high school days. 17-year-old me, slinging merchandise at Sears and Roebuck and Company, moonlighting as a skeptical atheist. And then enter the captivating, blonde-haired beauty, 24-year-old brand new coworker who, when I walked up to her, quizzes me with the, "Are you a Christian?" Well, in a tangle of teen confusion and, let's just be honest, raging hormones, I blurt out, "Yes, absolutely, I'm Catholic." And of course, she turns to me and says, "Well, then you're not really a Christian." Right? Because she says, "I'm not saved." So there I was, suddenly, all in on getting saved. I mean, guys, just bear with me. She was really cute. I had to just do what I had to do. Now, was it divine intervention or was it just the hot chick in the women's department? It's hard to tell. But as a person of color, I have this theory. Maybe we are just predisposed to fall for European bullshit. I mean, European sales pitches, spiritual or otherwise. Or maybe it's just my luck in spiritual encounters doubling as dating. More on that later. I got another story. Anyway, her husband, yes, you heard that right. So much for me being horny. He was a youth pastor at the church and the basketball coach. Oh yeah, it was the classic move, something straight out of the old colonial playbook. You know the type. Anglos using religion as a front to exploit the physical prowess of black and indigenous populations. His outreach wasn't about saving my soul, it was about leveraging my athleticism to salvage his sinking basketball team. And his wife, well, by day she was all casseroles and choirs, the model churchgoer, making everyone believe that she was as pure as communion wine. But by night, she morphed into the seductress with less than holy intentions. She was supposed to be my guide to the light, but she was more interested in turning down the lights. There I was, freshly saved, and the coach's wife invites me over for dinner, as they did often on Friday nights, with the coach conveniently out of town on a church retreat. Halfway through the dessert, she decides to make that move, flipping my newfound Christian faith into a full-blown spiritual meltdown. And it's really perfect timing. Nothing nudges you back into atheism faster than holy hypocrisy, served up as a side dish. Now, this very personal and true story is way more than a detour on the road to enlightenment. It deeply affected me. It was like accidentally taking the highway to absurdity. It's a hilarious peek into how history just repeats itself over and over again. With religious exploitation, only this time it happened in a Sears store. Turns out the most devout people will use any excuse to manipulate, be it for basketball or something a little more steamier. Now, breaking free for progress. Look, it is critical for us and the Black and Latino communities to get one thing straight. We have to ditch these old school shackles. I mean, our ancestors fought way too hard for our freedom, for us to just be walking around with these historical handcuffs on like there's some kind of fashion statement. Imagine if we took all the energy that we're using to defend the ancient doctrines and actually put it into something useful, like educational empowerment, economic independence, or getting more deeply involved in politics. It's like, why hold on to a broken record when you can upgrade to streaming? Spotify is great. Let's swap out those rusty chains for something that's actually going to get us somewhere. It's time to move forward and start writing our own story instead of being stuck in someone else's outdated script. Now, I have one more tale on my road to personal freedom, and I call it Seeker in the City, Rediscovering Religion in the Hollywood Hills. Now, you guys know what a seeker is, right? Raise your hands if you know what a seeker is. Oh, there's not many. So a seeker is someone who's seeking Jesus, but he's not really Christian, okay? Back in 2003, I didn't have a clue until life decided to give me a crash course, literally. You see, when I started off in Hollywood, I was on a high note, and then it quickly spiraled into the lean years, meaning I ran out of money. So first, I crashed my girlfriend's car, a cool $8,000 right down the drain. Then my dog decided to tango with a monster truck. That stunt cost me $10,000 to save her. And then for the grand finale, my girlfriend decided to dump me because I wasn't making TMZ headlines yet. I'm still not. And I'm fine with that. So there I was, a perfect mix of broke and heartbroken, the perfect sucker to fall into the seeker trap. I thought maybe little baby Jesus had some pull in Tinseltown. So I popped into this Presbyterian church in the hills, hoping for a bit of celestial guidance. And instead, I get this dude, Pastor Mark, up there condemning the gay crowd that was sitting right in the middle of church like he's auditioning for the next villain in the next Mission Impossible movie. His sermon, more fantastical than a Harry Potter novel. I mean, come on, staffs the snake, sees party, who writes this? Really? Oh, that's right, prehistoric man. And just then, to add spice to the saga, I ended up dating a girl at this church. Yes, Jesus knows my kryptonite. Everything was going pretty well until the Bible came up. You see, she was against premarital sex. I was not. We weren't compatible. So she told me that she's celibate because the Bible says so, and I couldn't help but point out, well, yeah, but the Bible also endorses slavery, promotes it even. Well, needless to say, pointing that out went over just about as well as explaining quantum physics at a frat party. No offense if there's any frat boys in here. So then it hit me. Diving back into religion after such a catastrophic run of luck was like ordering the same bad dish at a restaurant because you forgot how terrible it tasted the first time. See, it's high time that we put aside these ancient fairy tales. Imagine if we, as Blacks and Latinos, channeled our energy into advancing healthcare access. Imagine fostering community entrepreneurship or amplifying our voices in the tech industry instead of going to church on Sunday. Why cling to a past that doesn't serve us when we can build a future that does? Now, in conclusion, crafting our freedom. We can craft ourselves a new era where our spirituality is defined not by the doctrines of old, but by the diverse, vibrant, and inclusive values that we all hold dear. Let's build communities that encourage dialogue and dissent, where questioning is not just accepted, it is encouraged. An era where Black, Latino, and all identities are celebrated in all of their facets, free from the dogmas that once sought to define, divide, and confine us. Let's sketch out a new chapter with a vibrant, inclusive spectrum that actually suits us. With events like this one, we're setting up kind of a spiritual debate club, right? Where questioning isn't just allowed, it's the main event. Now, this isn't just crucial for Black and Latino communities. It's crucial for all communities. It's essential on a global scale. Take the ongoing drama in Gaza and Israel, for example. It's what happens when you let age-old religious texts call the shots in a modern world. It's like using a typewriter to send a text message. Organizations like the Freedom from Religion Foundation get it, trying to stop the world from continually rebooting these ancient conflicting programs. Imagine instead of fighting over divine land rights, we're all just chilling, arguing over something that really matters, like whether or not pineapple truly belongs on pizza. It does not. Do not put it on there. As we move forward as a group of non-believers, as people who know real freedom, let's be proud. Step out of the shadows. Let's celebrate ourselves, and when the confetti settles, let's not just stand there brushing out of our hair. Let's pledge to explore these freedoms that genuinely resonate with us. Let's celebrate our aspirations. It's about time that my people define what it means to be truly free, shaking off these holy handcuffs of imposed beliefs, to step into a liberty that fits every aspect of our identity, just like the perfect Spotify playlist. Now, as we wrap up tonight, let's leave all this heavy stuff I've been talking about behind, right? Let's focus on enjoying the moment. We've all come together for something really cool and really special. Go grab a drink, mingle, and let's have some fun without any celestial oversight. After all, life is too short to miss out on a good time because you're stressing about a higher approval. So let's cheers. I brought my wine. Did anybody else bring theirs? Let's cheers to freedom, to new ideas, and to a night where the only judgment you're going to face is from the bartender for ordering that fifth cocktail. Thank you very much. Enjoy and thank you. Now, thank you. I don't know I don't know if my speech is the kind of speech that, invokes questions, but if anybody does have questions related to the speech, relating to anything from secularism to where I got this jacket, you can step up to the microphone and I'll answer them if I can.
First off, where did you get the jacket? It is a great jacket.
This jacket came from, Huckberry.com. It's my favorite place to shop.
And then on to more serious matters. So you mentioned a lot in your speech about what the Black and Latino communities can do to further secularization and freedom within your own community. What can a pasty white young man such as myself do to further the cause you outlined in your speech?
I think for anybody, especially Blacks and Latinos, if they can see more people who have taken their freedom, meaning walked away from the church, meaning are proud to say, I'm a non-believer, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in the dogma, I don't believe in the Bible or the Quran or any other good book. I think it's like lead by example, maybe is what I'm saying. Everybody in this room can lead by example and make sure that you interact with more people that don't look like you. When I look at people's Facebook profiles, I hope to see gatherings at their houses where there aren't just their brown-faced friends or their black-faced friends or their white-faced friends. Start to widen your circle. Get to know other cultures, get to know other people, get to find out something about your neighbor who you may not have spoken to otherwise unless just say hi to people, and whether they're Black, Latino, Asian, Middle Eastern. I think if you lead by example and say, I don't believe in dogma, I believe in human. I believe in the ability for humans to create our own destiny. I think that's how. That's what I did. I found people. I reached out to Margaret and other people before her to make sure that it was okay for me to not believe. And that's what I think people in my community need. They need to know that it's okay to not believe, because they were forced to think that if they didn't listen to their master, or if they didn't assimilate, then they were going to go to this horrible place called hell that's worse than the beating they just took. So I think if you could do stuff like that, maybe that's all I can come up with on the fly,
Thank
guys.
you.
It's a good question. Thank you. I'll remember that one, and I'll have a better answer next time.
Hi, as a community organizer in Florida and someone who comes to events like this and learns the data, Black and Hispanic communities are more religious in general. And I'm wondering if in your workplace you see that as a factor, or if religion is taboo in the social circles of Hollywood, or what are your thoughts on that from the perspective of race and ethnicity in your workplace? I'll
give you an anecdote. So on the show Castle that I was on, the head of the hair department, Edward, wonderful, wonderful man, dear friend of mine, devout Christian. The woman who did my hair on the show, devout Christian. Me, devout atheist. And so we would have debates in the hair and makeup trailer that, by the way, never got elevated, never got heated. In fact, there were more laughs and smiles about it. But they definitely tried to get me to see the light. And I definitely tried to get them to see that there was no light or dark, that there was just us, you know what I mean? And sometimes I felt like I got through, sometimes I'm sure they thought they got through. Never. But for the most part, that's kind of one of the only experiences that I ever had with talking about religion in my business, in my workplace. We don't really talk about it. I have met, in fact, that Presbyterian church that I went to, I was taken there by someone who was in my business, but on the music side, he writes faith-based music for really famous people. Famous faith-based singers, I guess. And, he obviously convinced me to go to that church. So we are able to talk about it. It never gets heated. But I don't think it ever would have an effect on whether someone, kept their job, got their job, or anything like that. So that's the best answer I can come up with.
I have a question similar to his question back there. our area, like many areas for free thought, is a very white-dominant space. We're 95% white. So how can we better attract Black and Latino and other minorities to the free thought cause?
That's a good question. I think, you think about culturally what you can do, and a lot of people are influenced by music. A lot of people are influenced by pop culture. So how can we start to infuse our message into that, into pop culture, into music, into, what is it, the chemistry? No, the chemistry book, Lessons of Chemistry. It's a TV show. Now, if Hollywood would let her lean a little bit more into atheism on that show, but that's a great way to introduce people to the idea that, being a non-believer is mainstream and okay. Because I still don't think that being a non-believer is as mainstream as it should be. And TV, film, and music, and books, and art that's what's mainstream. So that's pop culture, and it's global. So I think that's the way to attract. So maybe we've had Christian pop hits. We've had some rappers will rap about Jesus and God and their lives and whatever. But what about if someone raps about being a non-believer, or a song about being a non-believer? I think doing that and encouraging artists that might be in our community to create art, maybe that's a way to attract more people into this. But when you look around the room, there aren't many people of color in here. I'd like to see more. I'd like to attract more. So I'm going to encourage a bunch of people next year to come to wherever the conference is next year, and they're all going to be people of color that I know in the industry, hopefully.
Well, in regards to Black church music, I was wondering how you would envision that changing or being different if the Blacks decided to not take on the religious aspect of Black gospel. Would they just change the words so they're secular words, or would they have a different form of music, or do you see the Black music continuing in some way, or how do you envision Black music changing?
It's interesting. Yeah, gospel music's pretty. It's a definitely. It's good. I mean, I'm not even. I'm an atheist, and I'll catch myself clapping and singing to a gospel song. I'm like, they got me, because it's good music. That's the thing. Like, they create great music, and it's like it's the music that gets inside of you. And then if there's this one pop song I forget, and my friend Paul, who got me in that church, he wrote it. It's like she won a Grammy for best new song. It was a straight gospel, not gospel, but religious song. It was undercover religious song. Caught myself singing to it, going, wait a minute. And so I think it's going to be really tough, because it's one good thing about church. The one good thing is the community aspect. It brings people together that might not get together every week, and it allows them to support each other as a community. It's just that they got to get in there and talk about this imaginary friend in the sky. If only they would just talk about, what are we going to do for Nancy, who lives down the street and she can't pay her mortgage? Maybe let's gather some money up. So I wish that we could keep that, and keep, it's kind of cool that they get together and they create beautiful music together. I think I love your idea of, can we change the words to these gospel songs? So maybe what we do is, who wants to help me write a gospel song? Make that mainstream, and we're talking about, just atheism. Without using the word atheism, because it scares people. They think we're devil worshipers or some shit. All right, next question.
Real quick, an atheist rapper is Baba Brinkman. If you haven't seen him, check him out on YouTube. He's excellent. A number of years ago, there was another actor, Alice Gretchen, who spoke at the FFRF convention. She's an atheist as well. She wrote a memoir. It was excellent.
Yeah.
Do you know her? And
yes.
Okay. The question that I have is, you and her are pretty much the only atheist actors that I know of. And
Well, the
I'm
ones
sure
that
that's
say it
got to
out
be a
loud.
profession there's got to be a ton of atheists. And are there closeted atheists in Hollywood?
There's a lot more atheists in Hollywood. But again, I think that there's this, which is just weird to me because I don't give a. There's a fear. There's a fear because most of America that watches television in the flyover states, in the Bible belts, like they're the people that tune in every week and watch procedurals and family shows and the kind of stuff that we work on. So there's this fear that being, proud to be a non-believer and proclaiming it on your social media or whatever, that you might lose your audience. I remember one of the first times I posted something that had to do with being a non-believer, and my friend who works in special effects, he texted me right away, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to put that out there?" And I was like, look. And I think it takes more people to feel like they're supported by a community like this, to understand that they can do it. They can be out and proud, basically, is what we need to see. But I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are non-believers who, unfortunately, they just have this fear that they would lose their audience and lose their livelihood if they started doing what I'm doing. But I'm not scared. Yeah, I'm not scared. I got little baby Jesus in my back pocket.
Hey, John. First, thank you for being so supportive of Dia de los Muertos. Margaret and I are extremely grateful for that you do every year. Please, I hope you continue doing that.
Yeah.
The question I have for you is, Latinos, we are the target of every religion out there in the U.S. trying to turn them over into different things. Have you seen that, or have you, in your own family, in your own friends, back home, anywhere where it seems like every religion wants to just convert them into outside, because they figured outside Catholicism, it's better, but we all know it's the same BS.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure how to answer it, but no, I mean, I haven't, I would tell you that all my Latino friends in Hollywood, most of them are religious, and they are Catholic. That church was just like a hammer on the Latino community, and so I have more faith that the Black community will come to the good side, the light side of the force, than Latinos. I mean, it's sad, but I at every chance I get, I try to educate people a little bit, basically say, hey, do you realize what religion did to our people? Do you realize what the Catholic Church did to our people? Like for Puerto Ricans, I'll speak on Puerto Ricans. If you do a DNA profile, like 23andMe or Ancestry DNA or any other DNA company that'll probably use it against me in the future. When you do that, the only DNA that shows up is mitochondrial DNA from the mother, the female DNA, which means what happened to the male DNA? Most of the men were killed. Most of the men were driven into the ocean, like on the island of Boriquen. I don't even call it Puerto Rico anymore. I call it what the indigenous people call it, Boriquen. That is, to me, something that shows how maniacal the Catholic Church was, and all, spreading of religion during the colonial times. So I think that it's just so, Latinos have been so erased. The only identity they have is the church, is the Catholic Church at this point, and their Spanish last name that they were forced to take on. So I don't know. That's a tough question. I would love to see way more Latinos out here, but I like seeing the ones that are here, especially you.
Hi, thank you very much for being here today. I'm very happy to hear that you're using your platform to show what a proud atheist you are. And I also heard you mentioning a couple of things that have helped you, which is history. And I hear this question, people that ask all the time, what can we do to allow Hispanics, Latinos, and people of color to get out of this psychological slavery, which was imposed by the Spaniards with the conquerors. Do you think if we taught or if we revisit history and we let Hispanics, first of all, to know how is it that religion got embedded in our brains to start with, will help us a little bit more than what I've been doing for the last forever years and trying to get to a goal to have a more secular Latino community?
Yes, is the easy answer. I think better education. It's not going to happen in our schools. It's not going to happen in our churches for sure. But literally last week, John Leguizamo just dropped a new show. I can't remember the title. Does anybody know the title of John's new show? No? Come on, man. I didn't bring my phone up here. So it's basically, I think it's called like Latin history. John Leguizamo's Latin history. And it basically, it illuminates. And he basically says, this is a quote from him, 87% of our history is missing from textbooks. 87%. They literally teach like 13% of our contribution to the Americas. So in his show, he goes back and he tells us exactly who we are. From our indigenous roots, that's what I think a lot of Latinos forget. I mean, if you're under 6 feet tall and you got brown skin and black hair, you are an Indian. You are not, or you are an indigenous person. You are a native people. You are not Spanish. Spanish were Europeans and white people. So if you are brown, and a lot of Latinos, they will call themselves Spanish before they'll call themselves indigenous. And I think like re-educating people, making them understand, like you had an entire society before colonialism. You had a different language. You had a different name. You had different beliefs. And now you are indoctrinated so deeply that your identity is caught up in your language, in your last name, and in your religion. And I think that, educating people, so at every opportunity I get, I talk to my Latino brothers and sisters about that. And now John's show is going to be a great beacon, I think, for people to continue educating more Latinos about who they are, where they come from, and who they could be today and moving forward.
I think it's called American Historia.
American Historia. John Leguizamo's American Historia. If you guys want to watch that. I encourage everyone to watch it, not just Latinos, because it's just interesting. It's really good. All right. I think that's all the questions. Thank you. Hi. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.